said Owen Benjamin tried to poison my lasagna. That's how you're going to try and diss someone in a wheelchair? By saying that the wind blew them over? That's your slight jab at me, buddy? Nice try. Must be nice to try and make jokes like that. Found out about Owen Benjamin in The Unbearables. I can't remember exactly who told me about them. It might have been one of them who had reached out to me, actually. Long story short, in like March of 2018, I was looking to, of course, continue building the show, and I was looking for a group of networkers, kind of like-minded creative conservatives, and I was told about The Unbearables. I found out about Owen through the JRE podcast. To be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of him comedically. Like, I thought he was okay, but he wasn't, great. But I kind of liked what he was doing with the whole, anti-trans kids thing. That really spoke out to me. And in the beginning, The Unbearables seemed to be a great network. People who were doing creative stuff like art and design and podcasting and video production, parody, songs, musicianship, in the case of Chuck Boris, and just late night streams, which was how I met the original DZ guys. Of course, John Neary was my first interview for the brief period of time I was with the Bears. But here's the thing, Owen's not even a conservative. He's a fucking leftist, posing. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. How dare you! Owen is doing the shit that mass shooters do before they go out and do a school shooting. Here's my manifesto. We need to get rid of the weak people, and I'm not saying he's going to be the one to do this. An Australian man murdered his wife with a pair of scissors, stabbed her in the chest. This is a warning to the general public about Owen Benjamin. We've warned you. How dare you!
Must be nice.
According to him, the goat urinated on him first, in front of Amy.
all this gay talk is pissing off my German Shepherd.
Alrighty, folks, good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting here live from NGC Studios, and I want to thank you so much for joining us. We have a very special show for you tonight. Every show is special here because it's the Whitfield Report on Saturday night, but tonight I have two of my dearest friends in the podcasting sphere, Jer and Sunny Swiatlo from the Interest of Stuff podcast are here, and we're going to be talking a bunch of stuff, including a pretty interesting story that no one has really been covering about how different corporate entities are basically buying up land everywhere, but especially in upstate New York, where Jer and Sunny are from. And Sunny has really been the lead on this whole thing. But before we get into all of that, contact info as usual. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @somebody_NDC. You can follow me on Gab, Parler, and Minds at Sam Whitfield, Facebook.com/Whitfield Report, Streamlabs.com/The Whitfield Report if you'd like to donate. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and all of the other links for the show are in the description below. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring on my guests here. So Jeremy and Sunny, how are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent. Excellent, good sir.
Yep.
Yourself?
Pretty good, Sammy.
Welcome to the show. I think this is the first time I've had you on. You guys have had me on, I think like 2 or 3 times now. So it's about time that I return the favor to you guys.
I think
So.
this is the first time. I'm trying to remember. I think it is, yeah.
So anyway, welcome to the show again. Now, Sonny, for those who don't know, can you guys briefly explain what the interest of stuff is, either of you?
You.
Me.
You explain interest of stuff.
Well, the interest of stuff is, well, it's just a show where we show you interesting stuff. It's just us fucking around. It's kind of the show that sparked everything that we really do on the internet now. Like, our whole time is just consumed with enjoying crazy people on the internet. We get into some real shit here and there, but it's all over the place. It's stuff. You know what I mean? It's the junk drawer of television.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way of putting it, I think, is, definitely the junk drawer of the internet. And I've learned a lot of stuff about the whole internet lore thing. The reason I bring this up though is because Sunny went on a rant, one of her infamous Sunny rants, about how different corporations are buying up land in all across the country, most notably Amazon, to basically develop new facilities. And Sonny, I know you ranted that Amazon is the biggest, is one of the biggest, culprits in this.
Yeah.
And I do have an article up about this, but the upshot is basically that it's not so much about Amazon so much as it is these politicians are taking money from these corporations basically just to sell land and whatnot. Would that be about right, would you say?
I think it's a whole mixture.
Well, hey, real quick before you go,
Yeah.
there's Larry saying in the chat that they can't hear us and we're too low in the mix.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did just adjust stuff, so
Okay.
so yeah, I've got them on max volume on Streamlabs, so that should be fixed now. So.
Sorry, you're a professional. I should have interrupted. Sonny, so
Yeah, I think it's there's a more than one thing going on right now, unfortunately, when it comes to the sale of farmland and really kind of like the sale of small towns in a way. So, I mean, Amazon generally obviously moves into a city and buys up a ton of land and builds their warehouses and their distribution centers and all that good stuff. And kind of the pattern is like when Amazon moves in, there goes the neighborhood. I know some people, particularly one woman I was talking to who is from just outside of Austin, and she was saying that like the same thing happened to her. She said, we lived here. She said, my family has lived here since 1850, has lived in the same land. And so her grandparents were ranchers, homesteaders. And I don't know, she didn't give me like all the details, but they were forced to sell their basically, like they kind of ended up having no choice and ended up having to sell their ranch off. And they were lucky enough to find a not-for-profit that they sold it to. And so it's now it's a camp for kids with special needs. And she just said today that part of the land is actually going to be designated, National Wildlife Refuge. So part of her family's land will be forever wild, which is nice. But so she was personally impacted by this. She said, Amazon came in and they there goes the prices, there goes the city. They just completely develop whatever area they move into because obviously they create a lot of jobs. And for one thing, and people follow it. People follow Amazon. They follow whatever's going on. They
Yeah.
follow jobs. They follow, So, and obviously having a gigantic corporation come into any city is probably going to give that city a giant boom, in growth. And usually it's obviously industrial growth, which is not, it's not particularly something that we're really interested in around here. I would say industrial growth, no, we're too rural for that. So it's really unfortunate that they have decided to pick Rochester. It makes sense why they picked Rochester, for sure. But it's really unfortunate because
Well, and that's something I do want to kind of bring up too, because you guys live in upstate New York, and a lot of people, I hate to say it, kind of the rest of the country, generally when they think of New York, they think of Manhattan and the five boroughs, and they tend to forget all about the rest of the state. I mean,
yeah,
I've been to New York 6 times, in my life, so I've been there a lot. I have family from there, so I
oh,
know,
nice.
I know that New York is more than Manhattan. And I love Manhattan. Don't get me wrong, but there is a lot more to the state than just that. So
Yeah, there is so much. I know there is so much more to New York. So okay. New York is 87% rural. 87%. We are a gigantic state and we are mostly forests and fields and hills and lakes and rivers and and that's not at all the image you're right that people have. But I think, obviously New York City being so globally iconic, you can't you're never gonna separate the image of New York City
right,
from being the depiction of New York. But land wise, we're 87% rural. Something like 64% of our population lives in and around New York City. So so you've got, what is that? 36% of the population that lives in the rest of the state. That's why, so New York City makes all the decisions for the state, which is understandable because that's where most people are living. And also something that people don't really recognize about New York State is that we're not super blue. Like people think of New York and they think of 100% Democratic or 90% blue state. And we're actually more like a 60-40 split. So we're way closer to purple than anything else.
yeah,
So, I mean, just
By the way, she's making up all of
I
these
am not.
statistics.
I'm not making
You
any
don't
of
have
these.
any-
I
Where's your
don't.
sheet of paper?
I
Come
don't
on.
have them written
Come on.
down. I just know
Yeah, there's
them.
no camera. Fooling these.
I'm not. Look it up. Look up everything I just said. I'm not making those statistics up. I just know them because I know about my state. Because I'm one of those weirdos. But so our split is more like 60-40. So we're closer to purple than blue. And so politically, geographically, all of that, people really have a very skewed view of New York State.
yeah. And I mean, again, I think, from what I've read for years and years and years now, just doing political research, it seems like the reason they go blue all the time is because Manhattan is such an epicenter of things,
Right.
and you know, uh, most cities tend to go left. So
Right. Right. Even our, smaller cities, that, out here, are blue as well. We really follow the trend of the suburbs and the more rural, country areas are usually red and our cities are blue pretty much. I think there's maybe one city, maybe one that's an exception. But yeah.
what is
So,
I've always been curious, what is the cost of living in upstate New York versus the cost of Manhattan? Because it seems like it's just you know, because the entire state seems expensive to live in, but then again, that probably is me looking at the figures from Manhattan, since that's where everyone kind of reports from.
yeah, it is nothing like New York City. The cost of living up here, fairly decent, like comfortable. It's really not that bad at all. Like, I mean, so when we bought our house, what, 7 years ago now, I think, roughly. When we bought our house 7 years ago, you could still get a decent house or land or something like that for around $100,000. Not so much anymore. That was kind of like the beginning of the end of all that. But basically the entire time we were growing up and really up until the last, like, I would say like 3 to 5 years really, you could get a decent house for, like 85 to $100,000. Not anymore. But
Yeah, it it seems like the state, especially, under, well, I mean, the Cuomo's have more or less always run things in that state, but now it seems like even some of that stuff is, I mean, and that's the other question. Are the Manhattanites starting to leak into rural New York as well? I know you mentioned that a little bit too in one of your recent rants about.
well, I so that was probably more about just like the east side. Yeah, probably Sam, what you're referencing is when I said how the rich people like to come here and then tell us how to live, like they're gonna save us and stuff. Um, so we have very specific area, like the financial divide is really blatant around here. Like east side versus west side kind of thing. And the east side is where all the rich people live, and the west side is where all the like poor or you know, middle class live. So what's happening is a lot of the east siders have been moving west, buying land, all that stuff. And then they come in and they think, they want to run the whole town. They want to run the town because they're like, well, we have money, so we're smarter. And it's, usually a whole bunch of dumb shit that they want to. Shut up. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, people in the chat are wondering where Apex is. I mean, Apex tends to pop on, later, sometimes early. He's not always prompt. I'm assuming he's eating Mexican. He's eating Mexican right now. Take that what you will. So, but I mean, he certainly is welcome to come on and join anytime. But yeah. So in regards to this whole thing with Amazon coming in and taking over. I mean, the one argument is that you're creating jobs, and and
Mhm.
that's a that's a good, and that's a good thing.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want more jobs, especially in upstate um, New York? Especially right now.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Well, actually, you know what's funny? Rochester was like was rated like the number 1 or number 2 city in the entire nation for job sustainability during the pandemic. Because the types of jobs we have, pretty much like everybody was just able to work from home. So, I think that might have actually caused a bit of a boom of people moving here um, recently, because this kind of came out like, oh, yeah, in Rochester, everybody's still able to work during the pandemic. So, I don't know.
yeah,
In general, we used to have Kodak and oh gosh, Valio and one other big corporation. So I mean, Rochester. So it's a very old city.
yeah,
Um, and historically was always pretty like progressive, as in like eh, there's always jobs to be had, that kind of thing. It wasn't really like people were ever out of work and having a hard time finding work. That's just not ever been a thing around here. So, I mean, I'm never against more jobs being made, but I am against Amazon coming in and then them literally uh, getting precedence on all building materials because they're just able to do that. They have the finances to come in and be like, oh, we're going to take all the gravel, all the whatever, name it. You know what I mean? And then all other construction is like, cool. Now we can't get what we need for the next 3 weeks. Thanks. That's great.
yeah. And I mean, Jeremy, I know you work. Well, I mean, I hope I'm not doxing anything. But you have said on your show that you work construction, right? So.
Yeah, he had to leave for a second, Sam, but yes, he is. He is in construction. Exactly.
So
So, yeah.
so then that so then this whole thing must affect that as well somewhat. I would
Not
definitely
not
imagine.
him. Not him so much because of the project he is on and the contractor he works for and that kind of thing. I mean, there's like been a couple times I feel like where his contractor was like, I can't find this certain, whatever, anywhere. And uh Jer was like, whatever, and he went and got it. He found it. That's really only happened once so far, I think. But we couldn't get any gravel, so we just got a whole bunch of gravel because we're putting in a barn sometime in the next week or two, and so we wanted a gravel foundation. And uh my dad actually, knows the guy that we were getting the gravel from. So he was arranging it and he said that the guy told my dad, he's like, I don't have any because Amazon took it all and they got precedence. So he was waiting,
Whoa.
to be able to get it at all. And I mean, and he mostly services like a few of the suburbs around here. So he was really backed up on orders for everybody trying to whatever we're doing, we're all buying gravel right now apparently for some reason. But yeah,
And,
so it's like it's things like that where
and
it's
it
just like the kind of the littler guys. Like I said, Jared's not having as much of an issue, but it's always like the littler guys that it's like, cool. So now I can't get what I need, you know.
well, and
And
I
jack the price up too really bad. Jack the price up really bad on
yeah,
these guys.
well, and then from the consumer side of things, what I've noticed, like even here in Sarasota, Florida, where I am, it's not quite as bad here because DeSantis really acted swiftly. But I've been reading articles and whatnot where during COVID, all these small businesses got wiped the fuck out because of
Yeah.
having to lock down, and some of the some of the small independent like startup restaurants basically got like offers from Yum, who owns KFC and A&W, to basically like buy out their restaurants and buy out their buildings to turn into franchises. And a lot of these small restaurateurs, they didn't have to take it, but they decided to because they were bleeding money, from being locked down for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And they just took that money because it was more affordable for them. So
Yeah. Well, they had both pay.
yeah.
Exactly. Um, I didn't s- I didn't really see too many businesses closing around here, which is good. And again, like Rochester did fairly well during the pandemic. Like everything was able to shift to online. I know a few people that lost jobs. Their positions got just completely eliminated from their companies during that time and stuff, but I don't think it was too bad for small businesses around here either, which is pretty good. Can you really think of any?
Same as everywhere.
Yeah.
Restaurants.
Yeah, exactly. Although a couple opened recently. That's kind of funny. Restaurants, a few restaurants opened recently, like smaller ones.
So
I
so
mean,
the restaurant industry is kind of coming back then in New York then, or at least
yeah,
in
everything's
upstate.
just super expensive now. But I believe that's nationwide.
Yeah, well, that's what we get when we elect a dementia patient as president, or should he should be in a dementia ward. I don't know why he isn't.
Yeah,
Um,
we should all just eat bugs, right? Tax meat into infinity. And
well, I
let's all eat.
mean, the guy couldn't even when he was at the G7 summit earlier this week. He was 2 hours late for a meeting with Putin, and I mean he doesn't even know where he is half the time anymore. It's ridiculous. Like,
It's all ridiculous. It's all just a show now. It's just a reality. Our government is just a reality TV show right now. That's
yeah,
all. That's all it's been for a while, though. I feel like, you know,
yeah, it is.
been going downhill for a minute.
At least when Trump was in office, we had stuff to laugh at, and at least he was entertaining, and this other guy is just sad. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can put it. So
Sad.
very sad, very very low energy, sleepy Joe. So
Oh, they're all just bizarre, and I, it's very clear that uh middle class America is gonna get fucked as usual.
oh
That's
yeah,
what it boils down to. Middle class always gets fucked. It doesn't matter who's in power, who's got the most, pull, which party has the most pull at the moment. Middle class always gets fucked.
yeah,
So
yeah. People always think, it's the impoverished, but it's like, no,
mm-mm.
the impoverished have programs out the wazoo.
Right, they
Uh,
get their needs met.
and then we have people like the one internet scammer that Jeremy was talking to the other night on your guys' show.
Oh, the one he was talking to. Okay, got ya.
Well, I don't know if he was really talking, but he was just trolling the guy who's basically
No,
like
it's my
try.
buddy, retarded Ginger Ditch. He's my bestie.
He's my
I mean, I agree.
Jeremy, you're kind of off mic. I couldn't really hear what you were saying.
That's my boy, Andrew Ditch. He's my retarded best. Get coffee and hang out.
And so what's his deal? What's his deal? He's scamming the system or pretending to be a retard or what?
Little column A, little column.
Yeah.
I mean, he clearly can't take care of plenty of people getting disability. This is too, and should be, rightfully so. Like, I don't want him making. You know what I mean? I don't want him.
Yeah.
Let alone anything fucking. Anything. I don't want him doing anything. I don't want him playing at a gas station. I don't want him doing any of that shit.
He's a little, a little mentally impaired and a little nefarious.
I want him doing what he's doing. He's sitting at home, driving his parents absolutely fucking bonkers. His mother is only 60-something and looks like she's 100.
Yeah,
because falling down constantly. Like
she's
he's
only
a
in her
mess. His
60s.
life's a mess.
She's only in her 60s.
It's the
Holy
train
moly.
wreck. It's watching a train wreck.
Yeah.
I can't help myself. I really can't. And then I have to interact myself and call him and say hello. But he docks himself constantly. What's his phone number?
I think he's maybe not the best example of somebody like, I don't want to say working the system, but it's like Larry said, the working poor. That's exactly what it is. It's the middle class who work for a living and don't qualify for any help, that are the ones that actually don't have enough money sometimes to eat, or definitely don't have enough money for meds or mental help, or like therapy, or
And that's Andrew Ditch.
No, he gets all those services.
Yeah.
So I was saying he's not a good example of somebody who would be like gaming the system. He gets the services, but he also needs them.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Alright, I was lost.
right. And
I'm also very stoned.
right, and that's why I was saying like middle class gets fucked, because the poor have, like you said, Sam, they have services, they have programs, as they should. Like, I'm not against that. People are hungry and need medical help. Awesome. But it certainly why are you showing?
I'm not against the people who need it, getting the services they need, but right. I see, especially here in Florida, I see a lot of people gaming the system, and I hate.
Oh, really?
I hate to say it, but a lot of it is black people that are.
You whispered it. I don't want to laugh at that, but it's funny.
But
on Juneteenth, Sam.
Oh yeah. That's another thing. I had no idea that Juneteenth was even like a holiday until like
a week ago.
No, until today. Like I know they had been talking about it for years and years, but I mean, hell, now it's actually like an actual damn thing.
Well, it's been like a holiday and a day that's been celebrated in Texas for a really long time. Like, that's where I first heard about it, was from my friends from Texas. That was, a few years ago now at this point. So, but now they just made it national.
Yeah. I mean, everything's just, everything's, and I mean, they politicize everything's. I feel like this was a big political move too, to make Juneteenth a holiday. Yeah, another reparations thing. But
right, like why now? Right?
Yeah.
Why now? Why not a while ago? Although I did read that that Trump was actually trying to get it signed in to law as a as a holiday, and
Yeah,
I don't know what happened there, but so, it seems like they maybe, I don't know. It is this the timing does seem suspect. It seems like it was probably put through now so the Democrats could be like, "Yay, we did it." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Versus like allowing the Republican Party to get the credit for it or something.
I mean,
Because it's been in the works for a while.
yeah, it just seems weird, but yeah, getting back to what I was saying about people getting the system, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
if there weren't so much of that going on, I don't think that people would have nearly as much of a problem with that whole thing. But I mean, there
Yeah.
it seems like there are a lot more cases of that going on than not, if, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like this is something we all grew up with, right? Like um our parents complaining about people that were just, gaming the system or living off the government, right? Like I feel like we all grew up listening to those conversations. Um and a while ago, Jer and I kind of came to this conclusion where we were like, you know what? If you are gaming the system and you are, that's how you're choosing to live, you probably have a pretty shitty life anyways. And like I
Yeah,
wouldn't want to be in your position anyways. I would rather keep working hard and working toward the big goals that we have than settle and live off the government because I don't think it's much of a life, to be honest. I mean, you
no,
know what I mean? There's definitely plenty of hoops to jump through to get services, and at the end of the day, it's usually not that much that you're provided, and just I don't know. So I feel like if you really need it, good, and if you don't really need it, but that's how you're spending your time, like that sucks. You're wasting your life, and I'm sorry for you. you know.
well, I mean, if yeah, I mean, or you could be Ethan Ralph too, and just kidnap developmentally disabled people, or women, and then live
Oh
off
my
of
god.
them, or you know you can do that too. So
Oh, I think a lot of people do that kind of thing, actually.
yeah, well,
you know.
I know I don't know much about Ethan Ralph. I do know that that's one of the things that he is notorious for. So
I have you know how I have a lot of hillbilly relatives, as I put it, a lot of white trash type relatives. I feel like we've talked about this on the show a few times where I'll be
yeah,
like, "Oh, I have a story about that." It's like a story about my family that's like awful. So like most of my extended family has lived off the government at some point. At some point, if not still does. Like that's just what a lot of them did. Like my parents were definitely the black sheep in both of their families. So, that might be where their hatred for it came from, actually. Uh, but yeah.
well, you,
So I
well, you,
have a story about that about
well,
one of my
you,
relatives.
you and Jared have to be like the least redneck people that I know. If anything, Jared is more of a frat boy than
No way.
than a
No.
than a
No.
than a hellbilly. So
No, we're definitely way more hillbilly. I mean, the thing is, we just had also a decent education, so we are able to hide it, Sam. That's the difference.
yeah, back when the schools in New York were at least somewhat decent, I guess. So right. I mean, we're all millennials here, minus
Exactly.
the chat. I think maybe we have like, I know we have a few Zoomers in the chat, and then maybe a few baby boomers as well. But so you also announced that you guys are starting a new show. So would you like to talk about that a bit? I've never seen you so excited to announce something as you were the other day.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sam. So, um, it's a new old show. I mean, it's the show we started with. Uh, when we started live streaming, we were just doing live casting on Castbox, so just podcast, no video, and we had a show called Babies Raising Babies because we just thought obviously we're both into listening to podcasts. And there's not a lot of good material out there, or there wasn't at least, 2.5 years ago when we were doing this. When we were just starting out, there wasn't that much material on parenting that was solid. Like it was all just fluff and bullshit. And so it kind of seemed like an underserved channel. You know what I mean? An underserved
Yeah.
avenue. And we definitely have had, we've lived. We've lived through some things when
Yeah.
it comes to parenting and just in general when it comes to life. Like we've made some bad decisions that we've had to come back from and all that kind of thing. So, and one of our biggest things is being honest. You know, in the age of social media when everybody just fakes who they are, filters who they are,
Yeah.
very carefully curates their image, you know. We were quite sick of that, and especially when it came to parenting, because as I said, it was just all fluff and bullshit. So yeah, we started Babies Raising Babies, and then when we did live streaming, we changed direction and started doing more, doing what we do now, intrusive stuff. But I definitely missed. I think we both missed Babies Raising Babies. It's just kind of a little more wholesome.
Well, the internet drama stuff is definitely more of Jeremy's type of thing. I have to say that you could do a pretty mean political show yourself. I think, especially with your with your rants too.
Thanks, Sam.
You're
I mean, I just have opinions, but I don't know. We really forever tried to stay away from politics.
Yeah.
Because it's just so draining, and it's hard to like look at all this stuff going on and be like, there's actually not that much you can do about it. You can really only control or have input locally.
Yeah, no,
So
I
that's where
mean,
you have to focus, I think.
and I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, and it used to be fun, but now, and I mean, it still is somewhat doing the show, but like now it's just it's like so, you know, uh, I don't even want to say it's divisive because that politics has always been divisive somewhat, but
Right.
now I mean now it's so cutthroat now that it's like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
you know
There
you,
used to be like social niceties that were recognized when you were talking about more uh, delicate subjects
yeah
that people knew were going to be controversial. There were at least some social
Religion, money.
religion. There used to be social niceties involved where it was cultural to kind of be respectful and either not talk about those things altogether. You tried not to bring them up, or if you did bring them up, you were generally trying to be a little more mild. You know what I mean? I just feel like it was. I don't
well
know, people just
And there was always the whole agree to disagree thing too, which I feel like that got thrown out of the fucking window like within the last, you know, five 5 years. I've never up until like 2017 I had never heard of anyone being disinvited from Thanksgiving
Oh.
they they voted for XYZ candidate. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's bad.
yeah, I mean, I got disowned by a second
Only been
cousin.
people disinvited from Thanksgiving for sticking dicks in. Like those people have always been disinvited.
For doing what? Oh,
Sticking dicks in.
for
fags.
being gay.
Yeah.
That's true. There's always been a reason to disinvite someone to
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, I
I
mean,
guess this
yeah,
politics.
yeah, there have always been those reasons, but I've never seen anyone disinvite someone because of their political, you know,
Yeah,
candidate
like
before.
that was one of the things that used to make Thanksgiving lively, right? Like we would all be nice about politics and all that, but Thanksgiving dinner is when people would argue about politics for some reason. It's very traditional in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in regards to, you know, what you guys are doing with the babies raising babies thing, I feel like, you know, I'm single. I'm not really even dating anyone right now, but I do like the idea that you guys are starting the podcast because there seems to be like this weird you know, there seems like the there seems to like this really weird thing out there right now where millennials are either and zoomers are either like fuck parenting, man, like fuck it all, or they're like, or they go the exact opposite. And I mean, I've ranted about this before, but the stupid fucking trad larpers who are like oh, you know, you need to get married, at like you need to be married. If you're a guy, you need to be married by the time that you're, you know, 25, and you know your wife needs to be 18, and
Sure.
you can't ever masturbate, otherwise, you know, you're causing a fucking genocide, you know, or just like weird, you know, weird shit that is like, you know, it's just gone. It's a LARP at this point to make money. I think.
I
Oh,
think it is. Another common thing is to call them trad thoughts. The girls are trad thoughts, and
oh,
the guys are LARPing.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they're just all they are is Instagram influencers. They're basically the same exact thing. And it's always interesting to hear them talk because I live the life that they talk a big game about, and they don't know shit.
Yeah.
They don't know anything that they proclaim to know. And they do not live how they claim they live. Because if they did, they would not have time to post online incessantly every single day. And they all do. They go through and look at those accounts. They post 20 times a day. They sit there and like and comment all day and talk about working working the land, working with their hands. It's like, what are you doing? You're sitting at a desk somewhere on Twitter all day on a company's time talking about how you're trad. I don't even want to hear it.
The
Such lies.
the thing that weirds me out too, and I'm not even a parent, is, I mean, I'll just say, I mean, Mike Cernovich, you know, like from the time his daughter was basically born, like had his daughter like in his arms on stream with him. And you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a parent, but it seems to me that like if you're like a public figure or something, even like low key, you probably want to keep your kid off the internet for as long as you can, just because there are weirdos out there.
And that's it. And What's creepy too is the trad community really is like creepily pushing for like normalizing sexualization of basically I don't want to say full on kids, but like saying that 16, 17 and 18-year-olds should get married and saying that they should get married to men in the late 20s to 30s is fucking creepy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I mean, yeah, I would keep your kid off the internet. Do your best to keep your kids off the internet. We've never posted pictures of our kids. We were not that type. And I still don't. I don't post pictures of my kids, like their faces or any of. I really don't even post. There've been a couple pictures, I guess, where like one of my kiddos was asleep face down on a bench in a full on snowsuit. So all you see is just a figure in a snowsuit on a bench. You know what I mean? But like in general, I don't post pictures of my kids because there are way too many pedophiles out there.
well, and see, this is a whole another thing that I was thinking, because I'm old enough to where like social media didn't really exist when, like, by the time social media really came about, I was already in high school, and I was almost an adult, so I kind of I wouldn't say really missed the train, but like now you have kids who are, on social media now, and like that just didn't exist when I was
It's
a
bad.
kid. So like
Yeah.
how do you, like when I was a kid, the talk was, don't go on any weird websites, and don't talk to weird people online, and obviously a lot of those things are still true, but I feel like there's so much more out there now, that.
Oh, oh my gosh. And you can't trust parental controls. I'm just gonna say that. Like
No.
a lot of people think, oh, I just put the parental controls on and I'm safe. But like, so people, for instance, got the kids YouTube. I don't even remember what it was called. Just maybe just YouTube Kids or whatever, which was a separate app and was supposed to be completely safe, curated content for kids. And they literally had like Peppa Pig and Dora and Spider-Man and Elsa porn. Like
I
fuck.
I remember like hearing about that, and then
Elsa Gate,
yeah.
I believe it was called on the internet. Hi, everybody.
Oh hey, hey there, me. Oh hey there, Apex. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Man, I'm good. I would have been here a long time ago, but I got home from work, later than you start the show, which is normal. I slammed a beer while I got my shit ready. My Wi-Fi died, so I got fucking with that, and I drank another beer. Then I sat down, and I took a hit of weed, and I choked real bad. And I literally just went and threw up the first two beers that I drank because I choked so hard on my weed.
Oh,
So that's what I'm doing. How you guys doing? What are we talking about?
we're talking about how retarded trad people are.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
bane of humanity. Yeah.
they're doing a number. So okay, Sam. So as far as kids on the internet, it's extremely detrimental to their mental health. Gen Z having horrendous issues with mental health is no
Yeah.
shock because they've been on the internet since they were like 12 and 13 years old, and full grown adults have been making fun of them and shitting on them and harassing them without ever stopping to think that the person that's spelling things wrong and having terrible grammar and all this other stuff is a 12 and 13-year-old kid. And so they've been basically attacked by adults all over the internet while, their parents were like, oh, safety controls are on or whatever. And you know what I mean? So it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah,
I go on about that. Like,
yeah,
don't
kids
Right.
know their way around, that stuff. So,
Mhm.
and my parents never put any of that stuff. They just told me, hey, you use common use common sense and, you know, I mean, part of that has to do with parents like actually parenting. The one thing I want to ask you about as parents is, to me it seems like there's this whole trend among millennial parents of they want to be their kid's friend as opposed to their kids as like actual parents. Am I imagining that, or is that like an actual thing from what you guys have noticed?
It's absolutely a thing. We say, why not be both? You can do both. You can be your kid's
Sure.
friend and parent. You should be actually
Yeah.
somewhat your kid's friend, because if you're not, somebody else is gonna be, and
hmm
you don't know how they're gonna advise your child.
Well,
If
sure.
you connect with them on that level, someone else is going to. So just like everything else, you don't leave that up to some other random person. You do that yourself.
Well, sure. And I mean, I would say I'm friends with my parents, but I mean, I guess what I mean is, it seems like a lot of these younger parents would rather be, their kids' friends than their
Afraid to
parents.
discipline because they don't want their kids to not like them. They view them.
Yeah,
They not only want their kids to be their
Oh,
friends, they want to be their kids' friends,
yeah,
kind of thing. Which is,
yeah,
to be honest
I
with you,
see what
I
you're
experienced in my generation's parents, including some of the parents that I've had. You know, so for sure, millennial parents do that, but I don't think it starts with them. I think it
I
started decades ago. But go ahead, sorry.
No,
yeah.
that's
Well,
and that's a good point too, because that's kind of a different thing. Is not just being your kid's friend, but wanting them to be yours.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
a different thing. That's true.
Yeah. Uh,
So,
but
I
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I I would just say that, I think obviously you should be I think you should be friendly with your kids, but at the same time, like, I knew that, like, if I fucked up, my parents were gonna rain down hell upon me when I messed up. Like, I knew
right.
that I could be friendly and friends with my parents, but I also knew not to cross the fucking line with them
Well,
either, or there would be, consequences. And I
yeah, you have to give your kids boundaries.
Yeah, well,
so
sure. And I mean, Sonny is on point for sure. Like, you absolutely have to be your kids' friends. They have to view you like that, but they also have to view you as a parent. Like, it's
Mhm.
not impossible to do both. And I think you know, from my experience as a child anyway, and reflecting on it as an adult, um, it's it's an inability to cope with like just this perpetual childhood kind of thing, refusing to grow up, which is why I think, babies raising babies, like, yeah, I mean, we're all figuring it out as we go in every realm, especially parents, but which I love that idea as a show, by the way.
Thank
Uh,
you.
well, because you're right, like, honest, nowadays you may be able to find some shit, but honest, like, parenting, like podcasting or whatever, or whatever. I mean, it's a good idea, and you're right. Honesty's hard to find on the internet anymore. It's
Well, thank you.
also scripted and edited.
Yeah, it all
hmm
is, and everybody's afraid of looking bad. It's like you're afraid of looking bad, but we're all pretty much messing up similarly. So I don't know what you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
all of our houses get messy. We all yell at our kids sometimes. We all do things that we shouldn't do. You know
yeah,
what I
make wrong choices. We
Yeah.
all fuck up, make the wrong choice. Uh,
And that's it. And I think pretending we don't just makes it worse, because then we keep creating this higher and higher um, standard. Not just a higher standard. That's really the wrong way to say it.
the
We're
fake
creating this.
expectation is what it is. I
Yes,
mean,
thank
it's
you. This
like, yeah,
absolutely unrealistic expectation. That's it.
yeah, and people are pretending, and again, using lying effectively on the internet, and there's always scandals of these internet personalities eventually that whatever they were claiming wasn't true, it was fake, or you know what I mean, they were scamming or fake, lying about something, or beating the shit out of their kids in this case off camera.
Yeah.
um and I mean, that's why the internet is so dangerous, I think, right? And I, as we've discussed in the whole spanking thing, I don't have any biological children, but the time that I spent raising have spent raising my stepdaughters, at this point, it is literally impossible to keep them off of it unless you live in a compound in the woods or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
school.
literally, if they go to public school, dude, you're fucked. You are
Yeah.
fucked. I mean, everything, especially last year. God damn it, that hurt. That hurt a lot.
Oh yeah.
The home shit. Oh god, dude. I mean, yeah. So it's a fucking minefield. It's a minefield for adults. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's throw fucking children out there.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean
I think. Go ahead.
the other component of babies raising babies though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you and Jeremy like super young when you guys first became parents, or is that someone else I'm thinking
Oh, that
of?
was us. Yeah, that was us. We had our first when we were 21. Yep. Yep. We had a
Yeah.
first by 21 and we had 4 by 26 and we were done. And we were pretty uniquely kind of set up to do that in that, my mom had done home daycare my entire life. And so the joke, the thing that we always said was I would say, "Oh, I was raised raising babies." So that was kind of a little bit where we got the name from. And then Jared would be like, "Oh, babies raising babies." So that's kind of where we got
Mm-hmm.
the name from. But yeah, I had by 21, I had way more experience than a lot of people nowadays do with raising kids. And I mean, I just, not only had my mom done childcare my whole life, but that was like my entire background. I had pretty much every job I had was in childcare, and any credentials I had, certifications I had, all had to do with childcare, early childhood development. So, I mean, we were actually, for having kids young, we were in a decent spot, and it's still, it's rough. I think that's one of my biggest issues right now, actually, with with the whole trad community, is they preach a whole lot of things that I don't think that they even know what they're talking about. Like,
Hold
for
on,
one thing,
Sonny. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Sammy, you
No.
have some wild like white noise coming through your mic like consistently. I don't know if that can be fixed. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Continue.
Oh, hey, hold on. Yeah, I just moved it. Is that any better?
Significantly, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry,
my
Sonny. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
yeah, my computer fan was revving up there for a bit, so I just closed some programs. But yeah, anyway, continue what you guys were saying.
Yeah, so a big problem with this whole get married at 18 and have, 5 kids by 23 or whatever the heck they're trying to push. First of all, I have several friends that are, mid to late 20s to mid to late 30s that have really been having like huge emotional issues reading that stuff. Because the whole goal is to make women feel useless by 25, which is just utter bullshit. So once your brain is fully developed, useless. You know what I mean? It's really strange.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're really doing themselves a huge disservice. I mean, you want to preach the whole trad lifestyle, but then you're alienating all these women who actually are very traditionalist in the way they live. Very traditionalist. They're all receiving that same message. You know what I
This
mean?
goes back. I think
gatekeeping.
this goes. Sorry to interrupt you, but it makes my head hurt, man, because this whole any real like online movement it's bullshit. You can almost always pull something from it for sure, but to take advice from people on the internet for your life is fucking retarded. There's certainly things you can pull from it. You have to be discerning enough to be able to do that, obviously. Which is why I think things are so fucked up, because people, nobody has, very few people have a friend or a family member or a partner of some sort adventuring through the internet side by side and experiencing things together that they can, you know what I mean? There's more than one brain going over this shit. So yeah,
That's
I mean,
exactly
the quote unquote trad community, what the, I mean, it's silly, like,
it is.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I mean,
Oh,
do your own thing and take from but to identify with groups is, you're by nature, by its nature, taking on a label diminishes your true self. You know what I mean? If only to yourself, certainly to other people. You become
And
that stamp.
I mean, Whiskey Runner does bring up a point that I was saying earlier. Never befriend your kids. They need a role model, not a grown ass friend. And I
Right.
mean,
And that's
right.
the argument. That's
if
the
you don't
argument.
think that your
Go
kids'
ahead.
friends are also acting as the role models, got a little twisted. They're gonna be using everyone and every. They're gonna be using everyone in their environment as a role.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and you know, I don't think
I think
that's what he's saying, and I mean, I agree. You know, they do need role models more than just friends. But if you can't be friendly with your kids either, that's no good.
Well,
So
you know what? Honestly, to frame this in a different way, I think this actually kind of goes back to, because I mentioned it already, our little spanking versus not debate uh, that you and I have had, and I agree with you wholly, and but I still have my own opinion on it, and I think it's kind of, and it comes from this sort of thinking where, like, I mean, I had friends, I had other role models and shit, but what I didn't have, or I had it um, less than I should have or would have liked to, was a parent that disciplined me and didn't let me. It wasn't interested in it so much in, like, I mean, yeah, well, for sure, wasn't as interested in the most inner workings of the feelings going into things. I mean, almost every time I ever got a spanking, especially at first, it was made clear through not just a one-liner that this hurts me more than it hurts you, and I don't enjoy doing it, type of thing. That's that level of, and times change, and I mean, I may be stuck in the past on some of this shit. I don't know. And again, I think that this is the point: is everyone has their own way, and there is studies and shit that continue to go on. Which at this point, who can trust what science is trustworthy anymore? But yeah. So I mean, I think that's what the difference here is like, it's a difference in framing. Like, you wouldn't not discipline your kids. You wouldn't spank them, which we've established, but that's fine.
Right.
You can discipline them harshly in many other ways, which you
I
would
mean, and
do,
the
right?
thing is, the word discipline also, it means to teach. It means to teach. And people take it as meaning punishment. And there is a decent difference between those two things. The millennial parents really are on about natural consequences. So, like, we won't fight with our kids necessarily, we being millennial parents. You're not going to see a lot of millennial parents fighting with their kids about wearing a coat when it's cold out. We're not going to do that. But when our kids are like, we're freezing, we're going to be like, sucks, right? Next time, bring your coat. Like, that kind of thing is what millennials are big on.
yeah,
Natural consequence.
yeah,
Rather than,
which
I said you do that. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, all right, fine. Be cold and you'll learn your lesson. You're not going to die. You're going to be fine. It's going to suck for a minute, but you'll figure it out. And guess what? We never even had to fight about it. We never even had to be nasty. We never, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing.
that was how my mom was. Definitely with, like, like, hey, maybe you should wear a coat, and then, I'll be fine, and then I'll come back later and, oh, maybe you should have, worn a coat, huh? So,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So, um,
I
but
just don't
yeah.
think much reason to be severe.
Is
Usually,
Jeremy still
there's
there? Or
always
is he
outliers. Yeah, he's here.
okay?
He's listening. But yeah, I mean, there's just no better, do better, right? And I mean, we're raising kids in a completely different world than our parents and their parents. I think the
Yeah.
gap between our generation and our parents' generation and they and their parents, I think our gap in how the world functions now is so much bigger.
Oh
So I
yeah.
mean, we can draw on some of their stuff, but also, some of what they did. Obviously, certain things are timeless. You know what I mean? But there's a whole lot of shit they never even had to consider that we
Oh
do
yeah.
all the time. So, we are we're definitely kind of having to make our own way here a little bit and figure things out.
Yeah, which is why I think doing a parenting podcast the way you guys are doing is awesome. And
Thanks.
for me personally at least, I mean, you not so much, Sonny. But I know Jeremy mostly as like a world class shit poster, and I mean that in the best sense. So
Yeah,
to get to know Dad Jeremy is gonna be really entertaining. So
he is. He's a good dad too.
I
Has
can't.
many different hats.
I was
Yeah.
gonna. I would be. I find it hard to imagine him not just doing the parenting thing. It's like it's just the same. It's hard to imagine him not shit posting. Drunk and vaping on mic and shit.
Well, there's a pretty classic story of the way we got our kids to brush their teeth was by showing them people on the internet with fucked up teeth.
Well, 'cause
So
here's
Oh
the
hell
thing.
yeah!
Okay, especially when they're little, right? We'd say, brush your teeth. And then they'd say, why? I don't wanna. Because every little kid does that. You know what I mean? I don't wanna
Yeah.
right now. So, they were going through this period of time where they wanted to fight us every time it was time to brush your teeth. Finally, Jeremy just pulled out his phone and just pulled up pictures of gingivitis and just the nastiest,
Mm-hmm.
nastiest mouths you can think of. And he was like,
That's called teaching.
yeah, he showed him. He said, this is why you brush your teeth. And literally all four of them ran over, grabbed their toothbrushes. They were frantically brushing their teeth. I was crying laughing, to be honest. It was really funny to be like, they were like, oh, jeez. And they literally all just started just scrubbing their teeth. It was great.
You know what? That just gave me an idea. The one way that you might be able to protect your kids from the internet as they grow up is to expand on the method that you just used. Terrify your kids with like things like with specific things on. Show them like this is why the same way you. I was taught like how to hunt. You know what I mean? I mean I didn't
Mhm.
have the internet so much, but stories told from other hunters and shit, like people
Right.
blowing their buddies' brains out and shit from
Oof,
this, that, and the
right?
other. Right. You learn through visualization. So if they're scared, if they think the internet is all this, just horrifyingly terrible shit and people, then they won't want to go there.
Yeah, I do think the pendulum's going to swing the other way in general too, because something I noticed is a lot of people posting about the fact that kids don't want to take their masks off now, right? Like,
Yep.
and most
Yep.
people are saying they're so afraid. They're so afraid. I think that for the first time, this generation, Generation Alpha and partially Gen Z, for the first time in their lives, they actually had a sense of privacy. These kids have been photographed literally coming out of their mom's vaginas.
Right.
They're on video from literally the moment they're born. Everything they do is smile, take a picture, take a video. Their entire life has been lived online. So I think these kids finally having the privacy to like make faces at their teachers behind their masks and no one else is going to rat them
Yeah.
out and there's not going to be any video evidence of it. Or, you know what I mean? Just a sense of like, oh, nobody knows who I am or what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, not what I'm doing, but nobody knows who I am right now. You know, I feel like it gave kids a sense of privacy that they've never had.
I
definitely think that there's something to that partially, Sonny, but also I have a half sister on my dad's side who is A, and she was and this really pissed me the fuck off because she said then like well I'm afraid to take my mask off because I saw in the news and Dr. Fauci said that if I don't wear a mask that this virus is going to kill me and I don't want to. So part of it could be what you were saying, but part of it might be the fact that our kids are also so ingrained with media and they don't know and they don't know how to process it. I've even been told by like random people on the street, you know, wear your mask. Do you want grandma to die? And you know, like, and and obviously that doesn't bother me because I know that's just an asshole. But you know, like, imagine a little kid, you know, hearing stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
And they don't know what to think. So.
Well, you know,
That's bad.
I think it was last week, Sammy, or it was recently that I told the story about one of my young coworkers, cashiers that works with me, that is fully vaccinated and has continued to wear her mask. She's a young Hispanic girl, and she's pretty shy anyway, but she's good at her job and she's funny and she's great. But she's continued to wear the mask at work every day. And she has like thicker epicanthic. She kind of looks Asian when you cover her mouth. Is the thing. She's wearing the mask and she kind of looks Asian. And I was talking to her at work about work stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry, can I ask you why do you still wear that? And she just kind of shrugged her shoulders. I was like, are you afraid of the virus? Like, is that what it is? She's like, not really, no. I'm like, is it kind of, do you just kind of like wearing it? Is it just like a thing, like a fashion thing maybe? Because it does change your face like completely. You look like, literally when she takes if you saw her with the mask on and with the mask off separately, you would not recognize her. She's an attractive young lady either way, but it's like a fashion thing. Apparently, that's the best answer I could get out of her. But you know, to be quite honest with you, she too might enjoy making faces underneath that thing.
Right?
You know, because she's got rather emotive. She's got eyes like a cartoon character. Like you can almost, you know, it's almost like interpret them like sign language.
Well, it's probably a combo deal of everything. You know, it probably is partially
again, yeah.
These kids finally have privacy. You know, there's not a camera catching their every glance and every, you know, every time they want to.
Sure. And yeah, and I
but
mean,
probably also
criminals
they are
also
afraid.
enjoy it. Yeah, some of them are for sure afraid.
That was one of Jared's biggest things. He said, "You know what? A year ago, if you walked into a store like this, they would have kicked you out. You
Bros,
I'm allowed to wear your hoodie."
Yeah, so Sammy can attest
at the bank. Right.
When I came on as his like full-time co-host, that's all we talked about, and I railed on this shit every fucking week with every guest that came on. I'm like, do you fucking realize how much of human communication is done through facial expressions and body language? You know what I mean? What are the fucking deaf people supposed to do, huh? We don't always
Yeah.
fucking
Oh,
speak. You know, like,
yes. That's a good
it's cutting
point
us.
too.
It's cutting us off from our fucking humanity. Like, yeah, of course I can fucking hear you if you yell, but it's
Even
all of
then.
like, it cuts off a cuts off a huge chunk of our innate human communication. Shit we've been doing literally our entire evolution. We've never talked with our fucking hands over our faces. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there is full expressive. We're able to read the whole thing, and with the glitch in the middle of one of the most important parts. I mean, body language is pretty important too, but where the
Right.
words are coming out and the expression around it, I mean, it's a glitch, dude, and it does not compute. I mean, I don't know. It
No.
doesn't compute for most people, and it shouldn't.
It was very
I'm lucky.
hypocritical of the way that we were always told like, well, you're suspect if you do that, and you can't wear that in the bank, and like given all we all grew up with dress codes, right?
Uh-huh.
Like even if you didn't go to a school with a uniform, every school's got a dress code. Couldn't wear spaghetti straps if you were a girl,
Mm-hmm.
camisole.
That's right.
Boys, your shorts have to be at this level and whatever. So we all grew up with those dress codes. We weren't supposed to wear hats in school. We weren't supposed to have our faces covered. You can't have your face covered. That was
Right.
something that was like beat into all of us in school, in stores, and whatever growing up.
If
Now
you're
all of a
sick,
sudden
stay
they're
home.
doing
Right.
an
Wash your
adult-
hands. Fucking
Yeah.
after every goddamn meal, before every meal, etc. Like basic goddamn hygiene was beaten into our heads.
Yeah.
I mean, my head for sure at a
Right.
very young age. You know.
Same. Yep. Same.
So
So, and then it was a huge about face. Like, oh, never mind. Just kidding. You can literally be completely covered.
mm.
And go ahead. Go shopping, go to the bank, do all that. So,
Yeah, it's all a farce. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people that have suffered through this last year. But I not only never stopped working, but I made more money than ever. Like,
yeah. A lot
you know what I
of
mean?
us
Sure.
did. A
And
lot of us
I mean,
did.
it's not like I'm not really happy about that, quite frankly. It didn't honestly do me a whole lot of good because I'm, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. But as I've sat and continued to work and watched shit I'm in a tiny little niche corner of the Midwest here, awfully close to the hottest shooting range in the fucking country, that is Chicago. Weekend shooting range. But yeah, anyway, like there's still people that again that wear their masks, but what bothers me and what I think about is the parents that walk in without a mask and the little 7, 8, 10-year-olds that walk in behind them wearing a mask. I hadn't really I'd thought about it. Why like the parents not wearing one, why is the kid? And I mean, if the parents don't want to make the kids or give the kids the choice because they want to be their friend and let them make their own choices, right? Then that makes sense. But why does the kid want to wear it? Are they afraid? If they're afraid, why are they afraid if their parents aren't afraid?
Right?
You know?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. How are you keeping kids masked when they're the least at risk for all this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and like I haven't gotten the vaccine yet, and people are freaking out like that I haven't gotten vaccine, and I'm like, why? I am in the lowest category. I'm in my 20s. I'm in the lowest possible risk category for getting COVID. I'm at higher risk for getting something if I do take the vaccine. So
Yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous. I won't go into any place that wants my kids to wear a mask, actually. I'm like, nope, we're not playing that game. If people that are wildly obese and super at risk can walk around without a mask, my kid's not going to wear a mask because you're afraid of catching something from them. No, sorry, no. Like, not going to happen.
yeah, Well, and it's also the morbidly obese ones who are telling everyone to wear a mask, and then next thing you know, you see them pulling out cigarettes and lighting up.
Yeah,
Uh,
eating 18 pounds of sugar a day. I
yeah.
literally had a nurse yesterday. I had just a doctor's appointment, like a regular tune-up, and the nurse literally said to me, she said, "Do you want to know the best way to not die from COVID?" She said, "Don't be fat."
I like that nurse a
I
lot.
love her. I love her. She's been at our doctor's office for a very long time. She's my favorite. She's hilarious, and I just was cracking up. I'm like, "Yep, yep, that's what it is." You know, I mean, we all know that all got turned into something else. But here we are.
Stop it! Stop it, whiskey. You're gonna do no such thing. Sit down and just drink more whiskey. So, he's you keep saying he's gonna commit suicide because the show is too dry for him. But I don't know. Maybe you're just a little.
I know.
Maybe you're
The
just a
problem
little
is
dry yourself. So.
I recognize the attempt at negging, but like
Hey,
but
I have
also
a,
you
I have
can't
a,
but
I,
also one of my good friends over here is Dennis Reynolds. So you can't.
I have a question for the panel. I was told for a long time, and I was thinking about this today. The phrase "you can't turn a whore into a housewife" ring a bell with any of you?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
yeah, right. Who the fuck says so? And like, is there like a scientific study? And where there's got to be some margin, some anomalies in that. It can't be 100%, right? Is it?
Right. Of course not.
Of course not. Okay,
Because there's well, whatever. Yeah. Exactly. That's a whole other situation.
cool. Well, yeah. I mean, could a whore throw trad on her, Twitter handle or something, and get 100,000
Oh,
They
followers?
do.
Right. Well,
oh,
sure.
definitely.
Totally do.
Right. So, my question is can any of them be saved?
I've regrettably I've tried. It did not go well. So.
Well, Sammy, again, I mean, no offense, that is a limited sample,
I have plenty
pool.
of friends that,
Mhm.
definitely slept around and maybe didn't make the best decisions, that are living very traditional lives and are definitely happy, if not housewives, at least happy wives in good marriages. Yeah,
Good.
it's
I
it's
heard
definitely
Yeah, I mean, I fucking love a happy ending, man, but there's just so many
you just
bad
don't
endings,
hear 'em. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't hear them
yeah.
because people because it's that whole like creepy, like negative, oh my gosh, sorry, I'm tired. Wanting to like vicariously live through someone else's pain, like that creepy almost. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Mhm,
everybody
Oh
mhm.
wants
yeah.
a negative. You want a negative. Uh, the headlines that are the worst get the most clicks, right?
Well, I have an interesting um, little story. I mean, in regards to negativity being how the internet works. I have a friend in my Discord and on Twitter named Darb, and he's genuinely across everywhere I've ever interacted with him in Discords and on Twitters and stuff. He's one of the genuinely nicest people I've met on the internet. He's up there, and he's been repeatedly banned and like IP banned from Twitter, and he's never been in like. He doesn't shit post. He doesn't talk shit. He says good morning and good night, and interacts with his friends and posts memes, etc. Relatively wholesome. But I personally have had to, like retweeted his I mean, it's weird. It's a one little, what do you call it? Uh, word. It's like situational evidence, I guess, for me specifically. What's that called? Tangential? Is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
Tangential evidence. But it's one of those things where like, oh yeah, people get banned all the time for this, that, or the other, and people claim censorship, but people like Darb, who are just, has an account for 10 years and gets a couple, few thousand followers and banned literally for no reason. Like he even sent me the screenshots. The reasons given was blank. It's like
Oh my
they didn't even put
goodness.
they didn't even put anything there. So yeah, I mean that's
What
kind of
in the
shitty.
world?
Yeah, well, and
That's
again,
very shitty.
yeah, it's very shitty because he's used Twitter and other social media like a normal human being, like a
Mm-hmm.
social media. He's just himself, and he's a nice guy. He
Right.
doesn't, go fucking with people or anything like that. But whatever. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think the internet is driven by it. Like clickbait was a hot topic, and it's still a thing, but it's not talked about nearly as much anymore. But yeah, negativity sells, man. For whatever reason, people love a train wreck.
Oh yeah. Well, it's reality. That's what the last 15 years of reality TV, has brought us with the Kardashians, and as you explained to me at the beginning of the year, Apex, or at the end of last year, that's what this whole thing with Ethan Ralph and all the weird internet personalities that we cover sometimes, and Jeremy and Sunny cover. It's all the same thing. It's e-drama. It's like a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
It's throwing fire on, you know it's throwing gasoline on a fire. So
For sure. And it's definitely hasn't helped society a ton to just constantly meditate on whatever the most negative thing of the moment we can find is.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said, or at least repeated a quote from, fuck, I don't even remember who it was, but I think I think it was a Rogan quote, but just the idea that, or the fact, pretty observable fact that like social media at large just kind of puts a magnifying glass on whatever latent mental illness you may or may not have, and I'd argue we all have some sort of. I mean, every human has some sort of something,
Issue.
and
We all have
if
issues.
absolutely, and most of
Yeah,
us,
for sure.
well, I'd say a vast portion of us,
Oh, for sure.
realistically, without the escapism that is social media, the internet at large, but particularly social media, would be fine. And those whatever issues, mental or otherwise, would, I mean, maybe not all the time, but they wouldn't have a chance to manifest because you wouldn't be in a world in your head that is, that is the internet. You're not like in yourself, but out of it. And
Right.
the
Or at
internet
least
creates
not
a lot of
super
that.
exacerbated. People would find healthy ways to cope, and then
Right.
they would, be improving themselves instead of
Right.
using unhealthy copes and, furthering their own detriment.
I'm literally in that boat right now. As much as I've talked
lot
about
of
it.
A
Yeah.
lot of us, I think that is definitely a cycle that a lot of us go through, or a season, or whatever you want to call it. I think we all have that because, like you said, it's escapism. It's really easy to block out whatever rough stuff is going on. And then you're like, well, look at this person's dealing with all this other shitty stuff. And I can either feel better about myself that I'm not having go through what they're going through, or I can feel better about myself because I can think that I'm a better person than them because I didn't make that stupid decision, or you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Or
And it's
I
not
mean,
it's not sustainable. It's
even
not
the
healthy.
things like, uh that like lonely people, whether lonely for long periods of time or lonely temporarily for whatever trauma, find people that like express genuine interest in like just talking to them, communicating with them, and learning about them, and creating some sort of bond. You know, I don't know how often that sort of thing happens, but I'm sure I know it certainly does. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't, not even sure the point really that I was trying to make specifically, other than, I mean, yeah, the escapism leads to like a, I don't know, like, what do you call it? Like
A vicious
so,
cycle.
yeah, a vicious cycle, a perpetual motion machine of trying to, like, you get, it's, yeah, I mean, if, I'm sorry, I can't really articulate it,
I
but
think I get where you're going though. And it is. It's a vicious cycle and it's just I think a part of the problem and why it's so hard for people to unplug, as they say, why it's so hard to maybe break that vicious cycle is because our real life communities are nowhere near strong and nowhere near as comfortably social as they used to be. And I don't even mean like pre-pandemic. I mean like a decade ago.
Well, and
You know what I mean?
and it's funny that you mentioned that, Sonny, because at the beginning of this whole thing, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was kind of hoping, okay, well, maybe this will allow for people to, you know, like get closer with each other, you know, and maybe this can be like a unifying thing, because in the very beginning, for like the first couple months, that was kind of the case. And I mean,
Sure.
I don't want to brag, but like my neighbors and I, we've always gotten along. We're always having like block parties and whatnot at each other's.
Nice.
So that is nice. But what I started to notice was, you know, as soon as the whole mask mandate started, and yes, I know, Whiskey, you're bored of us talking masks, but this is why I always talk about it, is as soon as the fucking mask mandate came out, it became another thing of, oh, well, you're not wearing a mask, so you want grandma to die, you know, or,
Yeah.
you know, this, that, and the other thing. It just became like this big, you know, self-righteous thing that drove another wedge between us that didn't need to be there. So,
That's true. You know, another people started to get really scared. In the beginning, I think because America has this really fast-paced, fill every single day up with this super structured routine and checklist of things you have to do, right? Like we're notorious for
sure.
being overly busy, like unhealthy amounts of busy. So I think in the beginning, everybody was like, oh, sweet. We actually get to sit down. Like it's mandatory that we stop moving. And I think it made a lot of people feel that camaraderie, feel like, all right, let's hang out with our friends. Let's, you know, let's figure out ways to get together and all of that. And I feel like we were all kind of treating it a little bit like a vacation. We were all on vacation at the same time in the beginning, you know, for
We
the first couple
were.
months. Yeah, and then it started to then they started really pushing the fear. Because in the beginning it was like, it's gonna be all right. This is gonna be a 2-week thing, flatten the curve, we're all in it together, America's gonna do great. You know, so we were like, woohoo, 2 weeks off, let's do this thing. And then it carried on a little longer, but making funny videos about it. We were our friends about it still, you know, we were finding unique ways to hang out, band gatherings, you know.
Yeah.
Like gathering in whatever certain ways.
Is
So
it
everybody
isn't
was hanging out in their trunks in parking lots together.
Yeah, isn't that funny that like hanging out became like this whole big like, it's like going back to like the 1920s, and just, you know, with the whole speakeasy thing. Well, what did you get arrested for? I got arrested for hanging out in a parking lot with my friends, you know.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
we, do, I know I missed most of the show, but, You've been streaming for 100+ minutes, Sammy. Do you guys want to talk about anything else? Is Jeremy still awake? Does he have any contribution he would like to add?
Do you guys have anything that you guys would like to bring up, or any juicy internet drama?
Some plugs? How about some plugs,
Any plugs?
for starters? Plug your show stuff.
Plug both of them.
Well, so Babies Raising Babies is going to be Fridays at 8 a.m. for now.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Morning show. And
On D Live, right?
D Live and YouTube. It'll be the
Both.
same. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the channels will be called Babies Raising Babies. It is called?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what it's called. And it is
Nice.
It is spelled incorrectly. And we know it's on purpose. just for that extra level, So it's
Babies Raising Babies.
BABYS instead of IES. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
So
Look forward to that. Sorry I had to work and Wi-Fi and throwing up thanks to choking on my weed smoke. But
it's always good conversation when I talk to you guys, so
thanks.
appreciate it. It's been a while.
Thank you both for coming, and Sammy, thank you for having me. And I did listen to most, and it wasn't a bad show. Great job, guys.
And you guys are still. Now I want to clarify this too, because I think some people are a little bit confused. You're not replacing Interest of Stuff with this
Correct.
show.
We're not.
You're adding on to the iOS, empire.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, Sam. Yeah.
We'll have
So.
iOS just like.
Man, if he's gonna hang out, he should get closer to the mic. You know what I mean? Like that's just
Hey, I hooked up.
this fool,
Our
vaping
mic's
in.
better than fucking Sammy's at least.
Okay.
I don't know what's
Don't
happening with that
harass
goddamn.
That is.
That's what we need is the Jeremy interview, so me and Jeremy can talk shit to Sammy for an hour.
I'll pick on Triple. I don't.
Oh my gosh,
It's
Jeremy.
only-
I treat 'em just like people.
That's right, because we love him.
Because Sam is people. What do you mean?
Mhm.
We
treat him like he's a people. We treat him like he's a people, and it's fine. It's because we love him. We give him treats.
Quality.
Jesus, I'm not a dog. I'm not a dog. I mean, I am, but not in that way.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay, buddy.
Yeah.
If Sammy was a dog, he'd be one of those dogs that got like ran over by a car, back legs.
Oh no! With the fucking wheels on the back legs, dude. Those like hero stories you see. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, but then he would
He would be a hero then. Yeah, he would be a fucking hero dog. Fuck yeah.
have one of those like super rich owners with the huge fake boobs that he would always be burying his head in, and they would
Yep.
be like, "It's so cute." Because
He would be an Instagram fucking. He would be an Instagram fucking star, and as well as the
would.
titties of the owner, of course.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, that's a future show.
Yep.
We've been talking long enough.
No, I would like to have a maybe a 2-on-1.
Ooh, now we're talking.
Interview with Jeremy. So.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
a Jer Salmon Apex. So I think the world needs that right now. To be honest with you, I think the world needs that now more than ever.
I can see the memes already. So
Jeremy can bring all kinds of fun, fucked up shit for us to get your YouTube channel banned with.
Hell yeah! Let's do it.
Let's go.
I've already been banned from Discord once, and let's get me banned on YouTube. So
maybe we'll do that on Odyssey. We'll see. Anyway, good night, everybody. Good night,
chat
guests.
and
Chat. That's what I meant. I wasn't saying goodnight to you. You guys aren't leaving yet. Good night, chat. You fucking shit talkers. I love you all.
Thanks for
mhm.
tuning in, everyone. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to rate, subscribe, and review, and that really helps out. And visit our sponsors as well. So we appreciate you all, and from all of us here at NGC Studios, good night. God bless. God save this great nation. God, freedom, democracy in that order, and we will see you on the next program. That's right.